Sohu News reported on November 28th that China is reducing its holdings of US debt on a large scale and has begun to import a large amount of gold, including imports from Russia. Earlier, Russian Business Daily, or RBD, reported that Russia delivered 2.16 tons of gold to China, worth $124.6 million. It is the highest recorded amount since 2016. In the first 10 months of this year, imports of gold in unprocessed or semi-processed forms from Russia to China amounted to 5.72 tons, almost doubling the same period last year. Nikkei China reported that China sold U.S. treasuries after Russia invaded Ukraine in February. Particularly, China sold $121.2 billion of U.S. treasuries, equivalent to 2,200 tons of gold by the end of September.
Staying focused for Jesus.
Thanks for waking up with us.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Staying Focused for Jesus. Today is Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. See, the time for me is right now 12:14 p.m. We're going to build off of the two previous videos where we were kind of like touching on this, speaking about this. I think in the second video, I mentioned that I was going to do this video. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about, just go back a few videos and you will see. I think it's the videos titled, what is it? The ones pretty much talking about taking money at the bank, or, should you take your money at the bank? Now, I also mentioned this video where I speak about Ezekiel 38. I give a breakdown on it. And I dropped that video October 9th, 2022. It's titled Russia versus Ukraine, the scary truth about Armageddon. Russia versus Ukraine, the scary truth about Armageddon. You can find this on my channel until they decide they want to take it down or whatever. But what we want to focus on is this video right here. Now, this is from a channel called Redacted. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's titled, Putin just pulled off the ultimate sneak attack against the West. Russia has been working on this for years. They have been working on this for years. And he's going to tell us some very, very, very interesting things that are going to tie in to what we have been discussing with the other videos. So let me enlarge this and then we're going to let them roll. Y'all know how we're going to do. We're going to get some commentary and then we're going to roll out.
No one is prepared for what's coming in this war. Everyone is ignoring it. In fact, last year, in March of last year, something shocking happened that mainstream media totally ignored. The BBC ignored it, CNN ignored it, of course, the New York Times ignored it. Just about everyone did. Perhaps they didn't understand the gravity of the story. Perhaps they were too stupid. I'll show you what they missed in a moment. It was huge, and now it's actually getting worse. But first, there's some troubling news signs this morning that this war is spiraling out of control on two main fronts. The first front is the physical front. The second front is the economic front. But let's talk about the physical stuff first. The tanks, the weapons, the casualties. This is the stuff that sells newspapers and that CNN loves. The media wants you to think that a few German tanks or a few U.S. Abrams tanks are going to do anything to turn the tide of this war, that it's suddenly going to change because NATO threw some more weapons into the most corrupt country in Europe. Yes, they are corrupt. Even Bill Gates yesterday stunningly came out and admitted how corrupt Ukraine is.
Ukrainian government is one of the worst in the world. Corrupt, controlled by a few rich people. I mean, really unfortunate for the people in Ukraine.
Holy smokes, that's Bill Gates saying that. And you know what kind of an opinion we have of Bill Gates on this show. I bet Ukraine didn't like those comments. So meanwhile, this is what the mainstream media is talking about. Tanks, tanks, tanks.
All right, breaking news moments ago, a major development in the war in Ukraine after weeks of pressure from Western allies. Germany announcing this morning it will send those Leopard 2 tanks to the war zone.
Tanks, tanks. That's all they're talking about. The media loves tanks. But of course, these tanks will be blown up almost immediately, and everyone who's smart knows that. So these won't last long at all. The moment they arrive there, they will be turned into molten metal. But Zelensky just admitted what he really wants are F-16s. Yes, fighter jets. That's the next trick.
Дякую за це рішення. Дякую особисто пану президенту Байдену за готовність передати нам сучасні і дуже потрібні танки. Важливо, ми маємо розширювати і нашу співпрацю в артилерії. Ми маємо вийти на постачання літаків.
NATO will send fighter jets to a group of people who've never even played Microsoft's Flight Simulator on a Windows computer. All of this is a distraction, of course. The truth is, Ukraine has already lost this war. We knew this would happen from the moment this started. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin even admitted it through somewhat veiled words last week in Ramstein, Germany, when he said this.
So we have a window of opportunity here, between now and the spring whenever they commence their operation, their counteroffensive. And that's not a long time.
So let's parse that a moment. We have a window of opportunity here between now and the spring. That's not a long time, he admits. This window is narrowing. Staying on the physical stuff for a moment, the tanks, guns, etc., Colonel Douglas McGregor, friend of the show, astutely points out this morning in a new piece that he wrote, quote, Ukraine's material losses are severe. These include thousands of tanks and armored infantry fighting vehicles, artillery systems, air defense platforms, and weapons of all calibers. These totals include the equivalent of 7 years of Javelin missile production. In a setting where Russian artillery systems can fire nearly 60,000 rounds of all types, rockets, missiles, drones, hard-shell ammunition, in one day. Ukrainian forces are hard-pressed to answer these Russian salvos with 6,000 rounds per day. New platform and ammunition packages for Ukraine may enrich the Washington community, he writes, but they cannot change these conditions. Whoa. In other words, it's over. The greater problem is that Russia has now grown much stronger. Much, much stronger. And not just on the battlefield, not just the physical stuff. No, they are now much stronger economically. And this terrifies Washington. That's perhaps why...
Now, they've been telling you that these sanctions they're putting against Russia is to stop them, yet their ruble, which is backed by gold now, and has been for a while, it's pretty much worth more than the dollar. And they're telling you that you got to suffer. You got to suffer because we got to take care of this. We're going to send all these billions of dollars over there to help them while y'all struggle to buy some eggs. Y'all struggle to buy gas that you need to put in your vehicle to go to work to take care of your family. Now, let me make sure I make it clear. I don't care about America, according to the scriptures, because America is going to burn, and rightfully so. We are seeing that. But at the same time, I live here and I want the best for people for the time being until it's time for us to get up out of here. America doesn't have to be the way it is if America would abide by the biblical principles that it claims. God will bless America far beyond what America has been blessed if America would stop walking in hypocrisy, stop walking in pride, and stop walking like she got the biggest dick when she don't.
Washington wants to begin the next stage of this war, a truly terrifying stage of this war, where members of the deep state, the permanent government, are calling for Ukraine to get nuclear weapons. Yes, it's true. As McGregor points out, warmongering stooge Michael Rubin, who was a former Bush administration official and an avid supporter of America's permanent wars, just published an article calling for America to provide nuclear weapons to Ukraine as a deterrence for the future. Rubin writes, quote, "If the world allows Russia to remain a unitary state, and if it allows Putinism to survive Putin, then Ukraine should be allowed to maintain its own nuclear deterrence, whether it joins NATO or not." Huh. I wonder what Bill Gates thinks about this.
Ukrainian government is one of the worst in the world.
The most corrupt country in Europe is going to get nuclear weapons? It might sound crazy, and it is, but it speaks to the awareness that the U.S. is in a rapid decline. You're watching the last gasps here. You know, America is at the top with its weapons and its war. That's how it derives power. The threat of sanctions, of course, didn't work. So now let's threaten them with nuclear weapons. The second front is the economic front. Doesn't sell as many newspapers. It's not as sexy to talk about for CNN. But this is an even bigger story. Yes, CNN, it's even bigger than tanks.
This is huge news, right?
You're right, it is huge, Poppy Harlow. Now, everyone is focused on the tanks, but that's, of course, a huge distraction. That's cover for what's really happening here.
Follow the
which
money.
Is an economic World War III, the likes of which we've never seen before. And I mean never, at this scale, with this much on the line. You see, back in March of 2022, the big news that the mainstream media ignored was that Putin made a major announcement in his country. He suddenly unleashed a plan that was in the works for more than 10 years. He told his people, his citizens, go out and buy gold and silver. Oh, and the government wants you to do this. Go out and buy precious metals. Oh, and they did. By the gallons. They snapped up record amounts. Putin unleashed an...
Now, do you see the connection with what we were talking about earlier? You got BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America. You see the relations with America and South America. I think I'm gonna bring that video up also. I came across a video from another channel, and I may put it in here at the end, so y'all stay tuned or whatnot. But he was at least planning this for 10 years. He was at least planning this for 10 years. And now America don't know what to do because it was already mapped out. Okay, they're going to do this, we're going to do that. They're going to do this, we're going to do that. We know what's going on and what we get from China, the relationship with China, the business relationship with China, how much real estate and how much stuff that China just owns of America in general. And then China is in business with they homie, Russia. So they'll do business with us. China, like, yeah, okay, we'll do it. Boom, boom, boom. They're going to take it back. Okay, Russia, we got this from America. That's going to weaken them and it's going to strengthen us. We're already in World War III. I've been saying that, just like this person been saying it. I forgot his name, Clayton. He's also been saying it. But y'all know that have been a part of this ministry. We've been saying that. We went over World War II, World War III, and we showed you that before it was officially World War I or World War II, it was already happening. And then when America got drawn into it, and then America officially declared themselves in those wars, then it officially became World War I or World War II. And that's what I believe is happening right now, that something is going to have to happen for America to be like, okay, we're declaring official war, being completely drawn into it. Now, I don't care what people say, but if Russia and Ukraine are fighting, and Russia and America don't get along, obviously, right? And America is funding, giving the money to Ukraine, who otherwise would not be able to have been in the fight this long. And America, of course, other nations, but America specifically, what we're talking about, America sending weapons to the very people that Russia is fighting. That's an act of war. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. That's like, okay, we're fighting against the devil, and the devil is supplying the weapons to the people here on earth, the tares that are fighting against us. That's an act of war on the people that's fighting against us, and of course the devil.
Economic attack unlike we've ever seen before, and it was a sneak attack. It didn't happen on the battlefield. Instead, it happened at the banks. What Putin did is issue an announcement that Russia had changed the government laws, which now made it more attractive for the average Russian citizen to buy as much gold and as much silver as possible. The banks then had a run on precious metals. They ran out. There was a shortage in Russia. basically sold out of silver. The move by Russia was designed to reduce and ultimately eliminate dependence on the United States dollar.
That's why we discuss what we discussed in the other video. Remember who the top manufacturers of gold are. One of them being who? China. The other one being South America, who are part of what? They are a part of BRICS. They are a part of BRICS. And now they telling you, run out and buy gold or whatnot. So what's that going to do even more? It's going to shoot the price up even more. And I don't agree with him doing that, because he does it too. He does it. Go get the gold. Hey, this is who I partner with. This is my sponsor on this. That part I don't agree with. Now I know it's a business move, but we talking about for the sake and safety of people. I don't agree with that. If you're going to push somebody, not because you have a business relationship or they're sponsoring a video. Because all y'all doing is shooting the price up even more in a time where it's high. But hey, what do I know?
Is the reserve currency used in Russia. Instead, this moved the ruble towards commodities like gold and silver and solidified Russia's relationships with the BRICS nations, Brazil, India, China, and South Africa. They could create their own reserve currency based on precious metals and commodities like oil, rather than a US dollar. This is why NATO is so desperate right now. It's not about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It's about the money. It's about America's hegemony as the global financial leader. Russia told its citizens to buy gold and silver thanks to two huge changes in the tax code. The first, they got rid of the value-added tax, and then they changed the income tax. So when you would sell gold or silver in Russia, they wouldn't be penalized. So with that,
they changed what? They changed the income tax. Didn't we just discuss that? Now America is talking about, hey, maybe we need to do this. Now, on the front end of it, that's what it seems like. That we need to get rid of the income tax, the federal tax, and have this commodity-based tax to fund the government to offset what Putin is doing and has done. But in actuality, all this is to ultimately bring in the New World Order, because they are all on the same team, according to the Bible. Russia, South Africa, Brazil, India, China, America, they are all on the same team. All these nations are eventually going to come together in some way, form, or fashion to fight against God Almighty, fight against His righteousness and His kingdom and His nation. Psalm 33, all nations are confederate against Israel. Who is Israel? It's us. So ultimately, all these wars is really about us. In the same way, the Civil War was about who? It was really about us, about God's people. That includes the physical people and the grafted in people. The Gentiles who are grafted in that also believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what this boils down to. You got to get past the fluff and puff. You got to get past the surface stuff. You got to get past the fleshly stuff and see how this relates to the Bible. This is why we go over this stuff. And then when something else happens, you're like, oh, I see, I get it, I get it. Let's continue on.
The floodgates opened, and a new report out last week shows Russians bought a record amount of precious metals. More than 50 metric tons of physical gold was purchased by Russian citizens. And get this, 5 out of the 13 largest Russian banks sold 57 tons of physical bullion. That's right. All of this on top of the record amount of gold and silver that China already bought. So right now, there is currently a shortage of silver on the global markets thanks to the supply and demand. The globalists don't.
And he tells you that there's a shortage on it, but then you go on YouTube and you see all these financial advisors, or they say they're not financial advisors, just, speaking what they speak, because they said at the beginning, we're not financial advisors, boom, boom, boom. They're saying, go out and buy gold and silver. If the demands are already high, and then you got all these people that have thousands and thousands and millions of viewers listening to it, and they're in a position to buy the gold and silver that's already, there's a high demand on it, then what is that going to do to it even more? It's going to cause what we know as inflation, supply and demand, and so on and so on and so on. And I didn't go to school for this stuff. I'm an unlearned man, but the Bible says that God was going to use the foolish things of the world to confound the wise.
Want you to own any of this. They want it all for themselves. The demand is off the charts, and what Putin just did was a crazy genius move, because silver in particular is both a currency and an industrial metal, meaning it's used in every electronic device in your house right now, not to mention solar panels.
Fact, see? He's positioning himself, positioning his nation. Okay, we know where the world is going. We know that they are striving to offset what's known as climate change. And yes, climate change is biblical. The Bible does speak about the world heating up, but the Bible speaks about the world heating up, for one, because of what people are doing, the ones who are in power, and two, as judgment from God. Putin understands this, and he positions himself, okay, if we can have a rush on the silver and gold, specifically talking about the silver, we get the silver, which limits them in their ability to produce certain things. Now they got to come to us anyway because we got it. They got to come to us anyway, or they got to steal it. If they steal it, then it's going to be an issue, because then we're going to win, because there's going to be war. It was, I'm telling you, I keep on telling y'all, Putin right now is like Pharaoh. He's backed by God. God has hardened his heart to do these things. That's why every move he making it makes America look like a damn fool. Because America's damned. Putin got us out here looking stupid. And with the moves he's making, I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of silver and gold, specifically this silver, because that's what we're talking about right now. The silver is used in electronics. Who's buying up all the electronics and everything? Who needs it? Mostly America, who's the leader in the forefront. So if America can't get ahead because they can't produce these things, but you got other countries doing it, what does it do? It allows these other countries to speed up. Now, they're manufacturing it, and now America has to either buy it from them, or other countries are going to buy it from them, which is going to put more money in their economy and weaken the American economy, which is what we see. But they ain't going to tell you all this. I wonder why.
Which the demand for that is off the charts. And medical equipment. When I say big tycoons don't want you to own any of this, I really mean that. Famously, back in the 1970s, as inflation was skyrocketing in the United States, two guys by the name of the Hunt brothers carried out the famous silver squeeze that exposed the silver market. They were oil tycoons. They saw how important silver was. They bought 2/3, that's right, 2/3 of all the silver on Earth.
It's crazy.
It exposed how little silver there was in the world. Panic struck Wall Street in what was called the...
Now, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that the whole notion of how little silver there is in the world. I agree with it to the extent of silver in the world being produced, but the earth is full of a abundance of minerals and resources. That notion that there's not enough gold or silver, all these different things for everybody is bulljob. It's simply not true. People don't realize how big the earth actually is. Oh, it's not enough land. It's not enough this. That's bull jive. The earth is big. I mean, just think about the size of Texas. Texas is massive. And now we're talking about the totality of the whole earth, and there's not enough resources for people. There's not enough land. There's not enough food. There's not enough water. When the earth brings forth those minerals over and over and over and over, the earth is like a perpetual machine. It's like, the best way I can explain, it's like rainwater. How the cycle of rainwater comes, it evaporates from the oceans and the seas and everything up into the clouds, and then it comes down. It's a revolving cycle. It's the same thing with minerals. It's the same thing with fossil fuel. There is no shortage of fossil fuel. We was taught that most of the fossil fuel come from the dinosaurs. I believe that. Until I started doing more and more research and realized what oil really is. There is an abundance of what we call fossil fuels. Fossil fuels just don't come from the old dinosaur bones and all these different things. When I found that, I was like, man, It's a wicked world we live in. There's a documentary on YouTube that you can go look up. I'm not sure of the exact name, but if you watch enough of them, you'll find the truth about fossil fuel and oil and everything. It'll blow your mind.
Silver Thursday. It was the greatest panic since 1929 and the Great Depression. Holy smokes, two brothers just cornered the silver market. That's all the silver we've got, and the United States dollar is losing massive value. Can you imagine that? It sent shockwaves through the markets. The price of silver then jumped from $6 an ounce to $50 an ounce. It got so bad that people were breaking into people's homes just to steal silver. Here's a Washington Post piece from the 1970s that catalogs the break-ins. The head of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission said at the time that the Hunt brothers tried to punch a hole in the financial fabric of the United States like nothing had in decades, he said.
This is why I keep on saying it's cliche, but it's so true. Follow the money. If you want to hurt most people, this is why they can't hurt us. This is why they can't hurt us. Because they can't hurt us with taking our money. They can't, they can hurt us in the sense like, oh my God, I'm trying to take my family and stuff, blase, blase. But at the end of the day, we still trust in the Lord. If our money and our physical things get taken away, okay, we'll get it back. We have something that's greater. This is why y'all out here marching and all these different things. That's not how you, in this world we live in, that's not how you're going to get change. You're not going to get change that way. All the marching, all the civil rights movements, and then where has it gotten us? It's gotten us in a worse off situation. Now, when Martin Luther King Jr. got to talking about he going to get his check, then that's when it became a real issue. Because now they like, oh snap. He got the black folk with him, and they finna march on Washington. They gonna listen to him. They gonna follow him to come get this money. We're gonna have to get this money up, or it's gonna be some issues. It's gonna be some problems. When Martin Luther King changed his message, I don't rock with MLK Jr. because he was not the man that people make him to be. He was not a true pastor. He was not a true man of God. He was not a true minister of the gospel of Christ. I don't rock with him, but hey, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the whole story. When he changed that message, and you can go research this. There's a video out there. He's talking about it. And shortly after that, hey, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to go. You hit him where it hurt. If black Americans, if white Americans really want change, if they really want change, go on strike. Everybody across the whole United States go on strike because of these inflated prices. Go on strike and say, you know what? We got war and everything. We don't want this war. And really band together. America talking about, oh, we're a nation of this, a nation of that. Then come together like you really are. I want to see the whole nation go on strike. And watch how quickly things change. I want the whole America to go on strike and watch how quickly things change. Watch how these power companies, they change their attitude. Oh yeah, okay. Watch how wages go up. Watch how all these different things go up. Because now you messing with their money. That's where you hurt them at. If you're going, we know where to hurt them at. We fighting the fight that we fighting. But if you really want to hurt these people, you hit them where it really gonna hurt them at. In their pockets. I would love to see that. I would love to see all of America, blacks and whites, just go on strike and say, we're not taking this no more. We're not paying no $5, $6 or whatever for eggs. We're not paying $4 or $5 for gasoline. If y'all do it again, we're gonna go on strike again. Man, that would be crazy. I think I might even go out there for that. I might go out. I might go outside and see what's going on. I ain't saying I'm gonna go out there and march with them, but I might go out there. Oh, okay. But is that gonna happen? I mean, maybe. If it do, you heard it here first, didn't you?
Sound familiar to what Putin is doing right now? Very similar. Eventually, the Fed stepped in, Congress held hearings, forced the Hunt brothers into bankruptcy, they had to sell their silver, but the same exposure is happening today. JP Morgan just did the same thing a few years ago. They tried to corner the silver market, they bought tons of silver, admitted to fraud, had to pay upwards of hundreds.
And JP Morgan has a history of what? Slaves. They built their empire that they currently have to be able to pay 900. You know how much money you got to have to pay a fine of 920 million? That's almost $1 billion. JP Morgan to pay 920 million for manipulating precious metals treasury market. Didn't I tell y'all that in the previous video? They telling y'all to run out here and go buy this gold and silver, but the same people they talking about is the same people that own the markets. They the ones that's buying it up. Like, can we use some common sense, man? But going back to what I was just saying, JP Morgan, all these big corporations today, they're founded on the basis of slavery. Now, I'm not against slavery. I believe a person should serve slavery if it's due, and that's what the Bible says. There's this notion that God is against slavery. God is not against slavery. Man, how can you sit here and say that God is against slavery when God sent his people into slavery? Do you know how stupid you sound? God is against slavery, but he sent his people into slavery. Y'all making it seem like God don't know what he's doing. Y'all, I'm against slavery, but hey, I'm going to send y'all into slavery even though I'm against it. No, slavery is a punishment. Slavery is a just punishment. We went into slavery and we're still in slavery as a just punishment. America it has a system now of what we know, and y'all know this, of what's called debt slavery. And it's just. These people out here pushing debt, get more debt. Don't pay this off. Like, what are you talking about? Yes, I understand there's good debt and there's bad debt. But even the Bible speaks about, hey, pay your debts and stuff like that. Jesus, he commended the just servant when he came. He said, oh, snap. The master of the house is here and I ain't got what's due to him. Hey, write this, write that, boom, boom, boom. And he brought here. This is what I got for you. He took that and he made investments and he ended up on different people or whatnot, but it was still being paid over time. So that's a form of debt. But to sit here and say, oh, not pay your debt off and everything, the way they promoting and pushing it is foolishness, especially with how much debt America is in. We need to be getting out of it. We need different solutions to these problems. And the problem isn't going to be solved the way that they want it to be solved. The way it's going to be solved is the collapse of America. But all these big names like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all of them, they're based on slavery. And that's facts. Wall Street, which is where all this money is being traded, all this gold and stuff is being traded, is based on what? Slavery. Wall Street is based on slavery. We did videos on that. You can go do the research yourself. If they never do it that way, then they don't have the wealth they have today. The problem isn't the slavery. The problem is they took it to a whole nother level. They took it to a whole nother level. Even with slavery, you're still supposed to treat your slaves a certain way. You're not supposed to treat them like less than dogs. You're not supposed to treat them less than the fecal matter that comes out your body. That's what the Bible is against. Yeah, that person is still in slavery, but that person is still a person. They're just serving their sentence. Then we get locked up and our people mostly get institutionalized. We come out and we end up becoming repeat offenders because that's the way the system is set up. It's not meant to rehabilitate people. I know, I was there. Go ask a whole bunch of black folks that have been to jail. I'm telling you, from being there, I had Fed time. Making and selling counterfeit money. 2 charges in 2 different states at 2 different times. It's not set up to rehabilitate. It's there to breed the animalistic behavior. You putting people that's already animalistic in the cage with no true outlet. They fighting, leak. You know what I'm saying? You leaking. Oh, he leaking. You got cliques and gangs in there and everything. And then you wonder why you having the same problems or whatnot. Because they want that. You know why? If you end up messing up, you end up having to go back to court. You get more time, you stay in there longer, which means they make more money off of you.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in fines. An American bank just did this a few years ago. We didn't learn our lesson back in the 70s? But Congress isn't going to be able to haul Putin and Xi Jinping in front of congressional hearings for buying all of the silver. No, instead, they're sending NATO tanks and F-16s to attack Putin. And of course, we are actively moving weapons into Taiwan. Again, this isn't about Ukraine. NATO doesn't care at all about Ukraine. They care about the US dollar being destroyed. The price of silver is expected to rise even more as this economic war unfolds.
If the US dollar collapses, and the US dollar is the reserve currency of the world, what does that mean? Like, what does it really mean? It doesn't mean, oh, these other currencies are going to come to light and one of them is going to reign as a reserve the reserve currency of the world. No, it means the New World Order, which is based on digital, because they're going to be like, look, we're not going through that again. We need a decentralized currency that doesn't allow, allegedly, what they're going to tell people, doesn't allow the power to just be in the hands of one country, because we already went through that and we're not going through that again. They don't tell you all this. They don't break it down to you like this. And then they suppress the videos, and y'all be wondering why you only get 50 views, 100 views, 200 views or whatnot. For one, people ain't sharing the videos like they're supposed to because they hating. And two, YouTube and the powers that be, they're doing everything they can to suppress these videos. Then enter in what we were talking about in the other videos, artificial intelligence, to govern it. And what do we see in the scriptures? Now, I'm going to do this sermon. I'm probably going to do it today. I'm probably going to record it. I'm not going to say I'm going to drop it today, because this one isn't dropped today. It's dropped on, probably February 1st. But, you have the artificial intelligence going to be implemented and stuff. And then in the Bible, what does it tell us? That they gave their power to the beast. The system implemented, and then something else happens. You're like, hey, I got the answers to fix the problem that you do have. And then a whole nother level of technology is shown and revealed to the world.
And the US dollar continues to collapse. So that's the news update portion of this video. Now I want to tell you about our sponsor for today's video, which is tied directly to this demand for silver right now.
There you go. Let me fast forward and see if he's talking about anything else. Let me see. Y'all give me a second.
Is a one-of-a-kind silver mining company.
All right, now. Let me see.
If you're new to this, I want to help you understand. We hit peak silver supply about 5 or 6 years ago. So we hit peak silver.
Okay, I think that's it. He's talking about that or whatnot. Let's jump over to this other video real fast, and we get ready to close it out.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have been welcomed in South Africa. He met with his South African counterpart Naldi Pandor in Pretoria. Despite a lot of Western countries cutting ties with Russia, South Africa and quite a number of African countries refuse to cut ties with Russia. Of course, it's based on what is beneficial to those countries. Before, if the US or the EU says no to a certain country and they tell African countries cut ties, usually African leaders used to say yes sir and cut ties. But this time around, it seems like they don't want to accept that, and they have seen that it doesn't serve them to be puppets to these nations. It's not bringing us any value. If anything, we are being under their control, and they can tell us what to do, what not to do. It's not a life to live, especially if you're supposed to be a sovereign country. So South Africa is telling the rest of the world, I don't care what you think. I don't care if you don't like it. I am going to have a relationship with Russia because it benefits me. But as we all know, in the near future, I'm sure we're going to hear some kind of, backlash from the Western world towards South Africa, because we've heard it before when the UN Security Council was voting and a lot of African countries decided to stay neutral about the Russian-Ukraine war. What was happening? There was a lot of threats. There was a lot of, if you don't do this, I'll cut you out of this deal. I won't give you this money. I won't. But it didn't work because at the end of the day, African countries are starting to realize that we have a voice and we get to decide who we want to deal with and who we don't want to. And
the African leaders are also realizing that and understanding that Africa is the future in the sense of where the New World Order is going to be centrally located at. I keep on telling y'all that and showing y'all that with much evidence, and especially much evidence from the Bible. As Christ said, who is this that comes from Basra? Well, Basra is in, what we call Africa. It's a part of Africa.
And we can stay neutral if we want to. We can say yes or no if we want to. And it's a great revelation for us, because for so long that's not the way we went about it. So well done to South Africa, I guess, for standing their ground, not necessarily for what they're deciding, but they're saying that we are going to be neutral, and that's their right. And every country in this world has a right to collaborate, do business together, and train together. That's something even the West does. So why should it be seen differently when it's between an African country and Russia? I guess it's just a double standard thing. Anyways, fam, what?
It's mostly it's a American thing. I just wanted to show you that. Now we want to go over to our next point. And then you just type in on Google, China pouring billions to Africa. A Chinese official in Nigeria says Beijing plans to invest over $300 billion in Africa to increase African exports and help close the large trade gap with China. $300 billion. That's Beijing alone. That's Beijing alone. Where do you think Beijing and these Chinese are getting this money from to be able to invest in Africa? But they're getting it from America. They're getting it from us. We know we get a lot of our products from where? From China. It says China plans for more investment in Africa have been welcomed by some, but critics worry about Africa's growing debt with Beijing, which, that's a legit concern. We know what the Bible says. Then this article, February 10th, 2022, China has invested $23 billion in Africa's infrastructure. This is from 2018. Why the billions China is pouring into Africa might not be, I guess it's supposed to say, might not be the best thing or something like that. But, of course, they're going to try to, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good for America. China offers Africa billions, no strings attached. And then this article from 2018, China offers another $60 billion to Africa. I think I clicked on it, but says no to vanity projects. So we're going to give you this $60 billion for your infrastructure, but we're not going to give it to you for stuff that's dealing with vanity, which that's smart. I know I have no arguments about that just on the surface. And, there's article after article where they are talking about this. And so when you're talking about BRICS, which consists of, let's go look at it real fast. For those who don't know, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This also indirectly includes other African nations. They're going to see how it's benefiting, then they're going to reap the benefits of it either directly by saying, hey, we want to be a part of this, or indirectly. And Africa is the future. I mean, you can just type in article after, not article after article, but you can just type in Africa is the future, or put a, well, let's put, why is Africa the future? Let's see what it comes up with. Africa is the future. This is trade, finance, global. They talking about money. Africa is the future. All eyes turn to the youngest continent as the next frontier for growth. With commodities like food and energy resources scarcening in the face of climate change and the Ukraine-Russia conflict, all eyes are turning towards Africa as a possible solution. The future is African. How Africa will become the center of the world's urban future. Washington Post. 6 numbers that prove the future African. WorldEconomicForum.org. UNICEF. The future is Africa. Global leaders rush to Africa for future opportunities, experts say. United Nations. Africa, a future for itself. Africa growth. And then, article after article where it talks about this. Why Africa is becoming a bigger player in the global economy. Now, where is Basra today? Basra, Jordan, Arabs, right? If I can type right. See if we give a picture of him. Let me see who we got. So y'all call this is, you say this is a white man. Now you can make an argument for him being white, but come on, man. I know Mexicans that look like this. No Mexicans that look like this. This man is more so Arab. More so Arab, but y'all saying he's white simply because of his skin. I know people that's not what we call black who got blacker skin than some black people. Y'all get confused about these different things. Is that a white woman? Is it like a white woman? On the surface, yeah. Come on, internet, want to move slow. Put the picture up. But it's more so an Arab woman. You put her in Mexico or something like that, she'll pass for a Mexican woman. She get to speaking Spanish, she'll pass for a Mexican woman. Come on, man. She don't like the typical white woman. Now in this picture, he looks, kind of like more white, but it just depends. Let me see, get another picture. Like, come on. Come on. And Jordan is what we just read. It was in where? In Basra. In Basra. And then you type in, let's see, Saudi Prince. I think that's a dude's name. Prince. The dude right here, Crown Prince. Now he looks, you got different shades of black. You got different shades of Arabs. Same skin color, right? Same skin color. There's cameras and stuff too, so that also plays into it. But same skin color. You see the facial hair and everything. Same people, y'all. Arabs, Muslims. This is family right here. This is family right here. And they know who we are. They know who we are. Now, let me get this real fast. Bible verse Basra garments stained. hold on, let me get this on the map real fast so y'all can see just what we're talking about. Right here. They go Basra right there. They go Saudi Arabia. Basra is what we know today is what? Is Jordan. They go Israel. They go us. These are the same people. Same people. They branched off from us. That's what the Bible tells you. But y'all talking about, oh, Esau is a white man. Well, you want to look at that image and say that, yeah, Esau is a white man because he looks white. I go with that argument. Because they got whiter skin. But we talking about white in the sense of white race, in the sense of like a lot of Americans that are white. Nah, man, stop it. Who is this? Who comes from Edom? From where? From Edom. Edomites with garments of glowing colors. Let's read it from the King James, but you get the point. Now, let's see Jordan and Israel map. Let's see what it shows us. Let's see what let me make it bigger. It's hello, Jordan, Basra, Israel, our people. This is part of the reason why they fighting against them. Y'all don't belong there. Who is this that comes from Basra? That comes from Jordan, and you got Saudi Arabia right there. Like, come on, y'all. But y'all talking about the Edomites is over here. You're looking at the wrong place. And then what do you see in the Bible? You see this alliance between these nations. All nations are confederate against who? Against us. Psalms 83. Let's go ahead and get that too. Psalms 83. Bible Gateway. Keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult. They that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more. And remember, we're not talking about the nation over there. They already know that they aren't the people. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of who? Of Edom and the Ishmaelites, of Moab and the Hagarenes. Of who? The tabernacles of Edom, of Jordan, Saudi Arabia, all these Arab nations over there. So what the hell is y'all talking about? And y'all following these people giving you false prophecies. Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines, the Arabs with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur, which is family, direct family. Ashur is a Hebrew Israelite. The Assyrians also is what is joined with them. They have opened the children of Lot. They have strengthened the children of Lot. Tyre, where's Tyre at? Lebanon. Let's see. Oh, it's a white man. It's a white man, yeah, according to the flesh. And just because he empowered them, he represent the whole people who we talking about from the Bible. But either way, he's still part of them. Then you got the prime minister. The prime minister of Lebanon. Come on, man. That man look Italian. Look like an Italian. That's why I call him Italian. Stop it. Oh, that's a white man. It's the prime minister. Oh, that's a white man. Stop it. Come on, man. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. And we know where the Italians came from. Like, what are y'all talking about, man? So we talking about Lebanon. Let's see, Lebanon. How far is Lebanon? Lebanon. And let's go with Jordan. Map. Let's see if it shows us. I think this one. Let me see what Lebanon at. Oh yeah, it showed me. Lebanon. Same area. You see it? Lebanon, however you want to say it. I know there are infiltrators there, but I know that. You saying, oh, that guy was a white man. I know there are infiltrators there, but we're talking about collectively. These people, Lebanon, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Arabs, mixed people. They are mixed. This is where Christ is gonna go ahead. He's gonna take all this to Iraq. You come on, man. Like, don't make no sense, y'all. Be acting crazy because you're trying to push a false narrative. I wanted to bring up. Let me see. Bible Gateway. Let me see. Let me get Blue Letter Bible. Blue. Y'all bear with me. We doing this live. Blue Letter Bible. And let's do. Let's go back to the beginning. And what was that scripture? Psalms 83. Yeah. And we want to go here. For they have consulted together with one consent. Now we want to see what is it talking about. They have consulted together with one consent. With one mind. With one understanding. With one heart. They are one body. They're all the same. Doesn't matter if they're different people. They have the same heart to do what? To come against God's people, to come against God's inheritance. They have consulted together. What is it telling us? They have taken counsel. They have purpose. They have sat at a council. They have all gotten together and said, hey, we're going to do this. All right? They are confederate against thee. They are confederate against God. They can't get to God, so who do they go against? They go against his people. They are confederate. Y'all talk about the Confederate Nations, right? They have made a covenant. It's a blood covenant, a league. This includes these African nations that y'all are so fast to run to. They have made a alliance, a pledge between men. They have made a treaty, a constitutional ordinance, and so on and so on and so on. To come against who? To come against God's people and come against God himself. Now, going back over here, let's just get it from right here. Basra, if I can spell right. Isaiah. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra, from what we call modern day Jordan? This is a future prophecy. God's vengeance on the nations. This that is a glorious in its apparel. This is talking about Christ, when he comes back to literally wage war on the nations. Traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Showing he's talking about Christ. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? Why your garments stained with blood? Like he's like, is that blood? Like what's going on? The very garments that we talk about, those righteous garments that Christ has on, that he also has clothed us with, he's going to stain them with the blood of his enemies. And that means what? Since we're going to come with him when he come get us, and we get our new glorified body so we can do these things in righteousness, our garments are also going to be stained with the blood of our enemies. He says, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. He's gonna be so mad, it's gonna be a wrap. And I will tread down the people in my anger, and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. Where is he coming from? Who is this that coming from Edom? Who is this coming out of the Edomites? Because he using them as an example. I'm going in there first. I'm going to wreak havoc on them because they knew better. They knew better. He going to use them as an example for the rest of the nations. But y'all saying this is America with dyed garments from Basra. He's coming out of Basra, out of what we call today Jordan. He gonna do some things. Like what are you talking about? Like, oh my God, it's a miracle, miracle. Yeah, America is a part of this, but that ain't what it's saying. It ain't saying it on no level that, hey, it's talking about America. Y'all making stuff up because there's not scriptures that support that. You're making stuff up to fit your doctrine instead of letting the Bible speak for itself. And you letting that speak through you. Like, good Lord. Even when we go to, was it Amos 3? Amos 3. Or is it Amos 2? Let me see if I go back this way. Yeah. My bad. Joel, I said Amos. Joel 3. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, because Israel is going into captivity once again, I will also, and this is in the future, again, the context is what? The nations will be judged. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the what? The valley of Jehoshaphat. You're going to say the valley of Jehoshaphat is here in America now? And I will plead with them there. Plead with them with who? All nations in the valley of Jehoshaphat that he going to make for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. The land ain't parted like that for real today. It is, but it ain't. Which is why he's going to go get his people, because his people are going to be in captivity once again. But they telling you, oh, no, this is our final captivity. Yes, it's our final captivity, those who are true believers in Christ. But for the rest of y'all going into captivity again. That's going to be worse than what the ancestors went through. And they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Yea, what have ye to do with me, O Tyre? Didn't we just look Tyre up? Lebanon and Zidon and all the coasts of Palestine. All these nations that are right there with Israel come against their own people. Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold. Ain't we been talking about the silver and gold? The Arabs and the African nations and Brazil and Russia and India, all these nations in America taking the precious metals of the earth, precious minerals of the earth, and enriching themselves off of it while they got us working. The way they got us working. And now carry into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. We shoulders away off, ain't we? Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of who? Of the children of Judah. Oh, the Bible is against slavery. Christ himself is saying, I'm going to take their sons and daughters and I'm going to give them to the children of Judah, and the children of Judah are going to be able to sell them into captivity, slavery, wherever they want to. And he says it right, and they shall what? Sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off. Y'all, you sold my people far off unrighteously. I'm going to sell your people far off unrighteously, your sons and your daughters. So when I say stuff like, I want your children, your children's children, your children's children's children, your children's 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 children, that's Bible. That's Bible. You got a problem with it, take it up with God. You should have thought about that before you want to continue to be oppressive for no reason. Then he says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty man. Let all the men of war draw. And they say, come on. Bring everything you got. Bring your artificial intelligence. Bring your drones. Bring your Terminators. Bring your T-1000, your T-2000, your T-3000. Bring whatever the hell you got. Because it's going straight back to the pits of hell where it came from. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Get everybody you got. Assemble yourselves and come, all you damned heathen. He didn't say damn, but that's what he's saying though, because he said damn in other places. And gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause our mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Meaning that's why I'm going to destroy them at. You got to read between the context and see what he's saying. Because he gives you other scripture to tell you what he's going to do. But no, this is talking about America. This all this going down in America. Specifically. Man, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I told you what I'm here to do, didn't I? We got that. Let's go over here. It says, in Washington, Syria defends South African neutrality. South African leaders have consistently rejected U.S. efforts to punish African countries for non-alignment. Now, I'm not going to read all this. What we're going to do is we're going to jump over here and we're going to let the app help us out a little bit. We're going to use technology the righteous way. We're going to let it help us out a little bit. Makes my job easier also. Or I should say more fluid, allows it to flow better.
South Africa doubles down on Russia ties. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and U.S. President Joe Biden met last week at the White House to discuss trade, climate change, and energy transition. Washington is seeking to bring Africa back into the fold following pledges of neutrality from South Africa and many of its neighbors after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as well as resistance to the U.S. position on the war. Biden praised South Africa as a vital voice on the global stage. The continent's importance was highlighted after the United Nations voted to condemn Russian aggression, in which half of the abstentions came from African countries.
Half of the abstentions were like, look, we're not voting on this, came from where? From African countries. And the UN, all the other nations, they had a problem with it. They understand what's going on. We are the ones that are supposed to be understanding. This is why God sends people like myself and others to speak these messages so you can understand it from a biblical standpoint. Y'all so focused on America. Yes, we should be understanding what's going on in America. But Africa is the future. And y'all still can't see it. You're going to find out the hard way. A lot of you are going to find out the hard way. When you go over there, you're going to end up worshiping the Antichrist or realizing, oh snap. Oh snap.
Having been long neglected in U.S. foreign policy, most African countries are now largely aligned with China in their political and economic partnerships. As a result, Africa has played a major role in furthering China's and Russia's goal of weakening the United States as the dominant great power.
China and Russia couldn't do it themselves. Who did they need? They needed Africa to do it. Everybody understands the significance of Africa. So I'm trying to understand, why don't y'all understand the significance of Africa, and why can't you understand the significance of Africa in the context of the scriptures when y'all claiming to be these great men and women of God that's speaking these prophetic things? Y'all supposed to be the prophets of today, but you can't make the connections. Maybe because you're disconnected. Maybe because you've been disconnected, you don't realize it. Maybe because you didn't got your little money, you didn't got this, you feeling yourself, now you walking in pride. And you won't humble yourself to see that you are wrong, so you keep on pushing this false narrative, and I know y'all watching my videos. I know for a fact y'all watch the videos. Because I'm seeing what y'all talking about, trying to cover up what you said because you know I'm addressing you.
South Africa's position is important as the only African member of the G20. Other African nations have followed its lead in refusing to bow to Western pressure on Russia. As expected, Ramaphosa raised objections to a draft U.S. bill that would sanction Africans doing business with Russian entities that are under U.S. sanctions. The bill, called the Countering Malign Russian Activities in Africa Act, would monitor African governments' dealings with Russia and has been called Cold War-esque as well as described as offensive by South African Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor.
Now look at the pride of America. Hey, you do this. We're gonna bring something forth called the Countering Malign Russian Activities in Africa Act, where we're gonna monitor your dealing with Russia. We're gonna see what you've been doing. We're gonna see if you are spending money with them or giving them money. Like, who the hell does America think? And then y'all get mad at me when I speak about this whole patriotism, American pride bull jive. This American pride bull jive. You see where it has got us at. I say us because I live here in America. I wish that it could be the best for America, but it ain't gonna be. You see where this American pride bull jive has gotten us. We're going to monitor how you're going to spend your money and your dealings. For real? For real. First of all, speaking from the perspective of Africa to America, first of all, you ain't who you used to be. You ain't got that power and authority no more. You don't dictate what we are and are not going to do, and there's nothing you can do about it. And now America is scrambling, trying to figure stuff out. And you got this co-president. I've been telling y'all that for so long when he first got into office, co-president. And y'all wonder why I said that. That man is not running the show.
In Washington, Ramaphosa said Africans should not be punished for their historic non-aligned position. We should not be told by anyone who we can associate with, he said, a position that has been popular across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, as Shivshankar Menon noted in FP in July, even if the ideology may not have much to offer in this day and age, as C. Rajamohan argued recently. South Africa and other African countries haven't forcefully condemned Russia's invasion in part because of close historical ties with the former Soviet Union, which supported anti-apartheid and African independence struggles at a time when the West would not.
America's treatment of black people overall has come back to bite them in the butt. That's why you have to do right by people. You reap what you sow. Now at a time when America needs these African nations the most. Or we don't need nobody. Because we America, we the greatest nation to ever exist, which is bull jive. Now you need these African nations, and now we watching the collapse of America right in front of our eyes. And it's beautiful to watch. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch the Bible come to pass. You see where pride gets you? But this don't just apply to America. This applies to each and every one of us. Pride comes before the fall of a man. Nations are built off of men. So nations fall because of the pride of men. America is falling because of this pride. And each and every one of us, we will fall and face the wrath and judgment of God if we continue to walk in pride. Whether it's American pride, self-pride, black pride, or whatever. Now there's a pride that's righteous. You should be proud of your black skin, but not in the sense where it's unrighteous. I'm happy to be black. I'm grateful to be black. I'm grateful for the trials and tribulations that I go through as a black man. I don't always want to go through them, but I understand from a biblical perspective why God made me the way He made me and why He made me who I am. I'm proud to be a man. That's who God made me to be. I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't want to be a woman, not because, I don't want to go through what women go through. I enjoy being a man, but there are people, they don't enjoy being who God made them to be. I enjoy being the preacher that God made me to be. I enjoy the way that God has blessed me to be able to preach. That's a form of quote unquote pride that I'm talking about. I ain't talking about the pride where it's like, self pride. I'm talking about boasting in the Lord pride. I'm proud of what Christ did for me. I boast in that. Because boasting deals with being prideful, right? There's a righteous boasting and there's an unrighteous boasting. There's a righteous lust and there's an unrighteous lust. There's a righteous covet and there's an unrighteous covet. The Bible speaks about that. But they don't break it down to you like that. There's a righteous hate and there's an unrighteous hate. There's a righteous judgment and there's an unrighteous judgment. There's a righteous anger and there's an unrighteous anger. They tell you, oh, you can't be angry. The Bible doesn't say that. It says, be angry and sin not. Oh, you're cussing. What's the intent of my heart? I'm not cussing. You can say it's cussing, but I'm not cussing in the sense of cursing like you're talking about. A person can do that without even saying curse words. You ever been cursed or cussed out without a person actually saying the words? It's dealing with the spirit, y'all. You probably done it. I know I probably done it. You told somebody off. You told them up so bad that you probably felt bad. And you didn't say not one cuss word or curse word.
South Africa. There are reasons for the perspectives that exist, and one should never, I think, try to pretend that there aren't histories, Pander said. A U.S. charm offensive. Washington has significantly stepped up its charm offensive in Africa. Last month, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield visited Uganda, Ghana, and Cape Verde. At the same time, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken toured South Africa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Rwanda. And in December, Washington will host an Africa Leaders Summit.
They don't tell you all that, or do they? Why is this such a push for Africa? If America is just such a strong and mighty nation that can defeat Russia, then what's the big deal? Africa, you can team up with whoever you want to. We're going to handle you. But we see that's not the case.
Nevertheless, African leaders view the renewed engagement with some degree of cynicism, knowing that both U.S. and Russian interest in the continent is more about great power rivalry than equal friendship.
Not Russia, but the African leaders that understand, like, look, that's two families fighting together. Fighting against each other. That's big brother and little brother, big cousin, little cousin, or cousins fighting each other. That ain't really got nothing to do with us. I told y'all that, didn't I? This is nothing but another form of a civil war. It just happened to be between Russia, Ukraine, and America, and NATO, and the European countries. This is infighting amongst family over pretty much the slaves. Y'all think this is about Ukraine. It's deeper than that, y'all. We speaking from the perspective of the Bible.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov visited Uganda, the Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, and Egypt in July. Russia seems to be securing its relationship with troubled African countries using security and arms sales as a bartering tool. Authoritarian leaders, such as Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, are reaping the benefits of being wooed by both Russia and the United States. This is a challenge for Washington because the large majority of democratized African nations don't want to pick a side and be once again drawn into a global Cold War.
They're like, hey, we did that before, but if you want to give us y'all weapons in exchange for this, in exchange for that, we'll take them. And what does weapons mean? Weapons mean that you have a means of defending yourself just in case one of these nations decide to turn against you. They didn't have the weapons before. Now they getting the weapons. They playing the game. They know how to play the game. Who they learn the game from? They learned it from Russia. They learned it from America. They learned it from China. They learned it from all these different nations. I don't fault them in that sense.
A newly dusted off Africa policy, which still focuses excessively on Russia and China and refers to a large majority of the continent under the contentious classification of sub-Saharan Africa, is not helping matters. As Zainab Usman, director of the Africa program at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, writes, Washington could have led the way in casting aside a perplexing demarcation that many Africans themselves do not subscribe to.
The whole sub-Saharan Africa, that is a political term that was made up amongst America for different reasons, political reasons, to keep it simple. We ain't gonna go into too much detail. We know we've used those terms before, sub-Saharan Africa, yet Africa itself is telling you we hate that term. And America could have made strides in saying, hey, we're going to do away with that. Since you find that offensive, we need your help. But no, America didn't do that.
It is surprising that a strategy that emphasizes its newness continues with the perplexing use of sub-Saharan. Kerry's cold reception. Meanwhile, in Senegal, U.S. climate envoy John Kerry managed to anger both African leaders and climate activists when he attended the African Ministerial Conference on the Environment in the capital, Dakar. He cautioned against investing in long-term gas projects and said all nations had to pull together to combat the climate crisis, telling an audience, well, guess what, folks? Mother Nature does not measure where the emissions come from. Many Africans perceived his visit as yet another U.S. official coming to lecture them about being green. The Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance called Kerry's presence a public relations gimmick that played with semantics. Words and framing matter. As Khalid Kher, a political analyst and managing partner at Insight Strategy Partners in Sudan, previously noted in foreign policy, the authoritative tone of messaging coming from U.S. officials is failing to win support.
American pride.
African leaders have increasingly become more allergic to that tone, something that China has figured out, she said. China tops the list of the world's worst polluters, followed by the United States. By contrast, Nigeria, with Africa's biggest economy and population, emitted 0.6 metric tons of carbon per capita in 2019 compared with 14.7 metric tons in the United States that same year.
Let that sink in. We live in a place that got some dirty air. So here John Kerry is coming over there trying to lecture these African countries, these African leaders about pollution, when look at the rate of pollution that's coming out from America. 14.7 metric ton. We just talking about Nigeria itself was only at 0.6. And we know that Africa is you can make the argument and say that Africa is the leader right now in what we call renewable resources, solar, wind, all these other things. If they aren't a leader, they're going to be the leader. We know for a fact that Africa leads the world in digital currency, but they don't speak about that though. And we know the world is going toward the way of what? Digital currency. We just spoke about that. The Bank of America CEO said that we want a cashless society. We want a digital society, digital currency society, and Africa leads in that. And y'all can't make the connection. But I don't know what I'm talking about though. Where they bringing the facts to offset what I'm talking about? They're not bringing you no stuff. They're bringing you a bunch of bullshit that they've made up. And I'm able to take this and show you how it relates to the Bible. I just did that. I've been doing it. I'm going to keep on doing it. America needs the help of these other nations. China and us, we're the ones that's polluting the world mostly for the sake of entertainment and money and all these different things. Instead of seeing where the future was going and getting ahead of it with technology and stuff like that and utilizing it the right way in righteousness. Oh no, we want to walk in the American pride because, you know, we have the petrol dollar. Well, the world is going away from the petrol. Now they're trying to play catch up. Too late. Too late. That's why everybody getting their money and moving to different places. They know what's up.
Meanwhile, Mozambique, Ivory Coast, and Senegal are gearing up to exploit recent discoveries of gas backed by European governments keen to secure their own energy needs and reduce their dependency on Russia. Criticism of those projects has led to talks of Western hypocrisy. Ultimately,
so they're gonna get their own gas, and then they're gonna sell some of the gas to Russia. And y'all worried about the pipeline and stuff like that when Russia already set all that up to make sure they still had a consistent supply. No matter what America did. Okay, you messing with our money, but we got the gold.
Ultimately, a continued focus on fostering economic partnerships instead of undercutting key African development goals is a better long-term plan.
Facts.
For example, the Biden administration won praise from Ramaphosa as one of few Western governments that said it would not stand in the way of the African continent's fight to waive intellectual property rights on COVID-19 vaccines at the World Trade Organization. Ramaphosa said he would like to see the recently agreed trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights waiver extended to cover COVID-19 therapeutics and diagnostics. Although Washington initially hoarded vaccines, funding through the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation is supporting Senegal and South Africa to make their own vaccines, which could be used to fight malaria in the future.
No, we ain't gonna get into that because we ain't gotta speak on that. We know what's up. Africa, you're wrong for that. You're wrong for that. Now we got that article. Let's jump over here. And this was when was this? January 23rd, 2023. He gets a controversial welcome in South Africa. So I want you to see that real fast. Now, remember, Russia is currently at war, and we just read that other article. That was an older article. This is a newer article. They letting it be known. They're letting it be known. Let's get it, and then we'll get out of here.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was welcomed by his South African counterpart for talks in Pretoria on Monday, January 23rd, in a visit that has sparked criticism against the backdrop of the war in Ukraine. A continental powerhouse, South Africa has refused to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine and resisted taking sides over the war. The conflict has triggered sweeping Western sanctions against Moscow and attempts leave it diplomatically isolated. South African Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor thanked Lavrov for the most wonderful meeting after the talks, which she earlier said would have helped strengthen the already good relations between the two countries.
The most wonderful meeting. Did they say that about America? Nope. Remember, over half the nations that abstain with that UN vote were African nations. And that posed a major problem for the UN and America mostly.
Sitting alongside Moscow's top diplomat, she described Russia as a valued partner. South Africa recently assumed the chairmanship of the BRICS, a grouping that also includes Brazil, Russia, India, and China to challenge the dominant U.S. and European-led global governance structures.
Boom.
Last week, it announced it will host 10-day joint maritime drills with Russia and China off the port city of Durban and Richards Bay in February.
We're going to train together to show that, hey, when it pop off, we got your back, you got our back. When it pop off, we got your back. You got our back. America will not win. Y'all better pray that America don't do something stupid and jump off in this war full-fledged. This is what they're debating right now. But they know if they don't do it, what it means for America. Meaning that it's going to collapse either way. Because then Russia, China, the very nations that America's fighting against, they're going to become more and more strong. Let's say America does nothing. Russia and China, they're going to become more and more stronger with their alliance with South Africa. South Africa say, hey, we ain't got really nothing to do with you, America. So then America going to get weak and eventually the dollar is not going to be the reserve currency, right? Or they go to war and then it just collapses faster. Either way, we know war is going to come, it's going to happen. That's just how things are done in this world. People are taking over, nations are taking over. History shows you that.
Last week, it announced it will host 10-day joint maritime drills with Russia and China off the port city of Durban and Richards Bay in February. But the links with Moscow have triggered criticism in the country, with some accusing the government of having abandoned its neutral stance. It is becoming increasingly clear that the South African government is openly siding with Russia, said Darren Bergman, a lawmaker with the main opposition Democratic Alliance, DA, party. Friendly engagement with Russia was not appropriate unless aimed at persuading it to end its involvement in Ukraine, he said. Lavrov told a press conference that Russia did not refuse negotiations with Ukraine. But those who refuse must understand that the longer they refuse, the more difficult it is to find a solution, he said. Officials in Moscow have blamed the closure of diplomatic channels on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has said he will not negotiate while Russian leader Vladimir Putin is in power.
The truth was he was willing to negotiate, but somebody in America, rather, it's the government in the forefront or the shadow government, whoever, told him not to. Told him not to. Somebody here in America told him not to. And then he pulled back. Now, whatever else they told him, hey, don't do it. We got you. We're going to give you what you need and everything. Okay, cool. So it's like you got Ukraine's like the little brother. They just trying to get their way. Vladimir Zelensky, he's like a little brat. I just want my way. I want this. I want that. Like a 3-year-old child. Russia is like the father. No, you're gonna do what I tell you to do. And then you got America, is the cousin, sticking their nose in the business. And like, look, okay, you family, but you ain't got nothing to do with this for real. You ain't got nothing to do with this for real. Cause we know what you did when you was setting up what you was setting up to do business together. You cut us out of it. You lied to our face. So we ain't rocking with you right now anyway. And now you want to come stick your nose in this business right here when this ain't got nothing to do with you? You trying to turn our little brother against us? Or I should say, you trying to turn our son against us? I'm gonna break it down and make it plain now.
Officials in
Go to the next point.
Despite the public overtures, the Kremlin has so far shown little willingness to soften its approach on the ground. In Pretoria, members of Ukrainian community in South Africa held a small protest against the visit, with some waving signs reading "Go home Lavrov" and "Stop the lies." Stop the war. Last week, the foundation of late South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, called the planned naval exercises disgraceful and tantamount to a declaration that South Africa is joining the war against Ukraine.
South Africa is pretty much joining the war against Ukraine by siding with Russia and China. They are part of the BRICS. They're seeing the benefits of it already. You think they're gonna, of course they're not gonna do it publicly because they are talking about these things behind the scenes. But of course they're gonna side with Russia instead of America. America had its chance. I believe there's nothing that America can do to fix it.
Pandu defended the drills, saying they were part of the natural course of relations between nations. All countries conduct military exercises with friends, she said.
So now y'all really see what's going on. Hopefully this has given you some things to think about. I mean, don't be afraid of World War III. Don't be afraid of World War III. It's going to happen either way. It's going to be worse things that happen. There's worse things than World War III, like dying and going to hell. Get your eggs out of America. Get your eggs out of the basket of America and put your eggs in one basket. The basket of Christ. Put your eggs in the basket of Christ, in the gospel of Christ. Don't put your eggs in Russia. Don't put your eggs in Ukraine, Brazil, South, whatever. None of these nations. Put your eggs in the nation of God, in the kingdom of God, in the kingdom of heaven. Because even though they look like they fighting amongst each other. They're all confederate against God at the end of the day. They are all confederate against us at the end of the day. Those of us who are true believers in the Lord Jesus Christ. And one day we're going to get our glorified bodies, we're going to come back, and we're going to destroy all these nations with Christ. So with that being said, God bless each and every one of you in Jesus Christ's name. As always, stay focused for Jesus. And as you know, the truth is not debated, it is declared.